Hello, hello. And hey over here. All right, I am going to go ahead and get started. Hey, Jocelyn. Give me 1 second just to make sure that I've got my folks over here set up. While I'm getting organized, if you are here, let me know that you are watching. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And if you happen to be catching the replay of this announcement, also let me know that in the comments as well. Hey, Jocelyn. Hey, girl. Good to see you. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm so excited for this announcement that I've been sitting on. Let me grab my little notes so I make sure I tell you all the things I want to say. And if this happens to be the first time that you're coming across me here on the internet, I'm live on all of my places. So I'm live on Instagram. And if you see me looking over, I'm also live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hey, Latasha. Hey. Let me know if you're here. Hey, I see lots of friends. Hey, come on in, everyone. Hey. Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. And don't forget that if you're watching the replay of this, also give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know who you are. Let me know where you are tuning in from. I'm excited for this announcement too. I've been sitting on it. I'm so excited to share. In case this happens to be the first time though that you're with me, let me do hey, Michael. Hey. All right, good to see you. Let me do a quick introduction of myself. This happens just to be the first time that you've been with me. So my name is Ashley Cuthbertson. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am the founder and CEO of A. Cuthbertson Consulting. I'm also a former pre-K through 12 music educator and also a college professor. While I was in the classroom, I was in the classroom for 12 years. And while I was there, I also was doing this wonderful side hustle thing that I now know as consulting. So to date, I have designed and delivered over 100 professional development sessions for music educators all across the US. And actually, I need to go back and check those numbers of the last couple of months because I'm pretty sure I've surpassed that 100 mark. I have also had the wonderful privilege of this last year been able to partner with 13 school districts. Hey, thank you. And ZJ Harwell, let me know your first name. I keep seeing you pop up. And then I'm like, I wonder what his first name is. So let me know what your first name is also so I can make sure I address you accordingly. Anyway, so design delivered over 100 professional development workshops, I think, at this point, many of which was still when I was in the classroom. And then to date, I have done conferences all over the country. In this past year, I have done 12 conferences with music educators all over the place, mostly in the Northeast because I'm based here in the DC metro area Zachary. Thank you, Zachary. I'm based here in the DC metro area in Northern Virginia. And then also been really fortunate in this last year to work with 121 really fantastic and dedicated music educators through my direct to consumer services, plus the 13 school districts that I partnered with, which has been like probably well over 200 or 300 music educators that I've been able to reach. So it's been really exciting. Like I said, I'm a former public school, private school, charter school, pre-K 12 music educator. I was in the classroom for 12 years, but a year ago, I left the classroom to found my consulting company full-time. So full-time, I support music educators in being able to design responsive and relevant instruction to be able to keep up with the ever-changing and diverse needs of our students. Particularly, I help with professional development and instructional coaching. Thanks, Jocelyn. Thank you. I think you pop up for play. And so I've been really fortunate this last year to have had so many great school district partnerships, so many great teachers I've been able to work with. And as I continue to think about what's next, which is what the announcement is going to be about, I first actually wanted to give a little bit of context as to like how we even got here in the first place, because I think that's going to make the announcement make even more sense. Hey, over there on LinkedIn, I see you looking awesome. Great. So like I said, let me give you a little bit of where it started and then where we've kind of been and where we're going. So like I said, I founded my company a year ago. Actually, we just celebrated our 1-year business anniversary. So woo-hoo, congratulations to us on June 19th. So that was just a couple of weeks ago. And so 1 year of full-time consulting, 1 year of full-time entrepreneurship. Didn't go to school for business. So it's been a wonderful like a roller coaster of a ride, but also really exciting and really fulfilling to be able to impact at a much bigger level than I ever would have been able to do if I stayed in my classroom, right? And so when I started a year ago, And so a lot of people ask me like, well, how did you like get started? Well, I was kind of doing this on the side. I didn't know it was called consulting. I thought it was just mentoring and doing PD and presenting at conferences, but have been doing it on the side for about 8 years. And so I'm fortunate that when I decided to go full time, I already had some school districts that were ready to continue working with me or to start a relationship with me, working as a partnership to support their teachers. And I had a wonderful network of folks I reached out to help me to spread the word. And so I just started kind of doing what I call like kind of pick and grab workshops where, of course, I had what I do, right? I support teachers with centering culturally responsive pedagogical practices, but I was a little bit all over the place. So I was doing PDs about this, PD about that, a little bit of assortment of everything. And it was all me by myself doing all of the things that you see. And it's still a lot of me. Like all of those, if you're on my email list, all those emails that you've been getting, like I really am the person sending you those emails. It's not like some other kind of stranger. And so, like I said, I've been fortunate to have a really wonderful first year of our company, been able to have 13 school district partnerships. There's 121 teachers in our direct to consumer programs, 12 conferences, which actually those 12 were from October to April. So we were out here working on a tour, making sure everybody had the word about the things that we're doing. A really wonderful thing about this past year is that, of course, I knew from my own time in the public schools, private schools, charter schools, teaching in a variety of communities, also as a professor working with music educators who were getting, most of them were getting their graduate degree. I also was at, so I taught at Loyola University, Baltimore, and then I also taught at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So some undergraduate, but mostly graduate in-service music teachers getting their degrees. So I already had validated the processes that I used, the things that I knew worked with my students and my teachers that I worked with. But what I did not know a year ago was, as I work to spread my message and to spread my work across the country and internationally now, I have quite a few Canadian clients that have engaged in my work as well. I needed to know, like, does my framework still work regardless of if people are in my students, if they are my teachers that I'm working with? The wonderful thing is that, I already kind of knew, is that yes, the framework, and if you've been with me, you've heard me talk about the framework for culturally responsive music education, which is what gets us to equity, has been validated. So I've been able to see the work that I've done with the school districts that have had closer partnerships with me, but also my one-on-one instructional coaching clients that I've been able to support throughout the year, to be able to really see, like, does this thing that I know works in my own situation, can I make sure that it's validated and it works for other folks? The good news is that it is. And so I'm excited that it's going to it has allowed me to then create a more cohesive set of offers and services instead of the kind of grab and go kind of offers that I was doing. Anybody who has engaged with me recently, and you're over here on, no, AB, you didn't miss me yet, because I'm still getting you ready, the context. So stay with me. I'm going to announce in just a second. I forgot where I was talking about the framework. Hey, Erica. Anyway, so I've been able to see that framework works for people, not just me, and it's allowed me to build out my services to be a lot more comprehensive. Oh, that's what I was saying. If you've engaged with me recently, you know that I am very firm against the one and done kind of method of professional development that we see in education, and especially in music education, because we don't change instructional practices. We don't have transformation in our mindsets in 1 3-hour PD. And because I know that my framework works so well with teachers, I really push against people who reach out to me for one and done PDs. And so you probably know who you are. If you reached out to me recently for a 1 PD, I always say the best and most transformative work that I do happens when we can work together over time, because of course you want your teachers to have transformation, right? You don't want just some random bits of information. And so that's been really interesting to see how that has evolved in this last year. And so let me share a couple of reflections that I have made from working with those 13 school districts and working with those 121 teachers and the hundreds of other teachers that have engaged with me at the conferences and the other PDs that I've done online. I have 5 reflections that I have been thinking about from this past year, which has led me to what I'm getting ready to share with you in just a second. So the first, and if you're a music teacher, which most of you are, this is not going to be surprising. Music educators are hungry for relevant professional development that is actually music content specific and does not just give them the information and the knowledge, but really helps them to make skill development and changes in their classroom. Something I learned after one of my school district partnerships, and is why I'm so insistent that, like, one and done is not going to get you what you want. One and done is quite performative when we're talking about culturally responsive practices, right? Check off that you did it. I remember being with them, and I did just a 3-hour session, my kind of hybrid introduction session, and I kind of sprinkled in some other things, right? And the feedback afterwards that I got from the teachers was that, of course, I'm a master facilitator. I'm a master at what I do. I'm an expert at what I do. And so, of course, they got great knowledge. They got great information. But the feedback that like really hit me in the heart and soul, and which is why I'm so insistent that the one and done is not going to get you what you want, is that they were so hungry to continue the conversations that we had begun. They were hungry to get the questions that they had answered. And in fact, many of them were disappointed that I was not able to give them those answers, and I was not able to really facilitate the deeper conversations that they were really wanting to have, right? The conversations I have with my teachers in our sessions go beyond just the surface level. How do we serve all students? How do we serve students that are Black and brown? How do we serve students with disabilities? Like, it goes way beyond that. They were ready to have that deeper conversation and have somebody kind of lead them. And then I left them after the 3 hours, right? So reading that feedback that they were just like kind of, like they left disappointed, right? Continues to remind me of the importance of having a professional development plan for your music educators, not just we have a day and come bring your lessons and your rehearsal plans and your concert programs and let's share. That's not professional development, but unfortunately, a lot of school districts are doing that. And I know why. It's because, especially if you're a fine arts supervisor or a curriculum director listening in, I know why that happens. Is because you have so many other things that you're managing, right? You're managing all of the inner workings of your department. You're managing lots of teachers. You're managing administrative things. You don't always have the brain space to really have a concrete goal for professional learning and then backwards plan of how you're going to get your teachers there. And so it results in people, contacting me 2 weeks from now, we have a PD, can you jump in and do a quick session, or having disjuncted workshops, or worse, not having any at all. And so teachers are going a whole year, and maybe the only PD that they have is if they happen to go to their state Music Education Association conference and pop into the little 1-hour shorty sessions, which we also know is not really highly effective, because what do you do after that hour, right? Who's there to support you? So the first reflection I have is how hungry music educators are for relevant PD, and they want to go deep. They want to go beyond just, I learned some information. They really want to make the changes, as we all know, to reimagine what music education can look like when it's really responsive to any student that you have in front of you. And so it becomes an afterthought, the way that we're kind of using it now. And so I challenge us, teachers, and also our supervisors, our school principals, to really think about how can we have as comprehensive of a professional learning plan for our music educators as we do our language arts team, our math team, right? How can we make sure that our music educators are getting the same? My second reflection is that all music educators want their students to do well, and they recognize that an important piece of that is their professional learning, to stay responsive, but also to stay like relevant, like what is going on in education? What are the trends in education? What are the things that we should be doing? What are the things that we should not be doing, right? Music educators recognize the importance of professional development. Unfortunately, though, like I kind of touched on, a lot of the schedules that folks have for their school and school district calendars, a lot of just the access to having the time for music content support is so limited. In fact, one of the districts that I worked with, they didn't have any days at all. So what we did was had like an online access to recorded workshops. So at least their teachers could get something, but that is not an unusual thing. I'm finding that oftentimes music teachers are lumped in with the other subject areas to do PD, or just told, go to your classroom and work on your own. That's not relevant either, right? Or helpful to ultimately the students whose teachers now don't have the tools that they need to stay on top of what trends are happening in music education and what they should be doing, and maybe even like not doing. An interesting thing also, and I guess I wasn't totally surprised, is that ongoing PD for music teachers is almost unheard of. Really only one partnership I had this year where we're working consistently throughout the year. That really should be the norm, right? How do you really change your practices? How do you really have transformation in your classroom? And you had 1 3-hour PD, or maybe a couple of check-ins, right? There needs to be ongoing learning, just like we would do as students, right? We wouldn't teach students how to read, I don't know, half notes on the staff one time and then never talk about it again, right? But we're treating PD for music educators very much the same way. A third reflection that I had is that so many people are confused about what closely responsive teaching is and looks like in music education. Like, this is actually the first thing I have to work with teachers on, is to actually understand what it is. And I understand why it happens. Is because when again, don't have a lot of really effective professional development sports. When you look around at like what is culturally responsive teaching for music education, you see people doing things like programming Black, Brown, Indigenous, and Asian composers on their concert programs, which is wonderful. You see them teaching songs in different languages from different cultures, which is also wonderful. And neither of those things I just named are culturally responsive teaching, because culturally responsive teaching has nothing to do with the repertoire. It has really nothing to do with the content. It's about how are you utilizing instructional moves to be able to help students learn to learn skills so that they can make meaningful connections that transfer into other contexts, right? It's about building that cognitive capacity. And how would we work in partnership with students through their cultural frames of reference to be able to do that? It's really not about the repertoire at all. And it still shocks me. Well, maybe not shock anymore, but it surprised me a lot that when people would reach out to me, they would say things like, oh yeah, we're good on the culturally responsive part. We know how to program, diverse composers. We just want a little more support. And it's like, actually, no, what you just explained to me is not culturally responsive teaching at all. And it's leading teachers to make a lot of mistakes in their classroom in the name of culturally responsive teaching. And so more work needs to be done in that area, which is what I do, right? To make sure that music teachers are not just throwing culturally responsive teaching on every single thing, but actually understand what it means and how powerful it is to allow all students to have a pathway to equitable success in the arts. Okay, fourth reflection of the 5. The fourth one is that so many schools and districts are relying on just like the straight up unpaid, sometimes paid labor of music teachers to do things that other subject areas have whole consulting companies to come and do. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So a lot of school districts are leaning completely on their own music teachers to design and develop professional development. Not a bad thing. Myself, that's kind of how I got my start, right? I was doing PD for my own school district before I branched out to others. I think that's a wonderful way to cultivate leadership within your teachers and a wonderful way to help kind of grow your own, right? But if the only thing that you're doing is having music teachers who aren't trained in different pedagogical approaches just share random stuff, that's not highly effective professional development. It's not research backed. It's not led by somebody who's an expert. That is highly problematic. One of the school districts that I worked with, and primarily I do professional development and coaching, but I've done a couple of like, I guess, straight up consulting kind of things where I worked with teachers and school districts through issues that came up. I guess you could call that like strategic planning or evaluation. One of the school districts that I worked with, the whole reason why I worked with them was because a teacher, a well-meaning teacher, had decided that they were going to do a PD for the rest of their team, their colleagues, on like anti-bias, anti-racism in music education. Wonderful. I love it. And that teacher was learning just from different things she found on the internet, a couple of webinars that she went to, a couple of books. She wasn't actually trained in that, in those pedagogical approaches, in those thought process. And so unfortunately, the result was the things that she was teaching her colleagues were not sound at all. And it led to some other unfortunate things that happened with students. Could have been fully avoided if they had not relied on the like unpaid labor of this teacher to figure things out, and instead had contracted with an expert like all the other subjects do to make sure that their teachers are being taught sound research-backed pedagogical theory, right? That should not be something that school districts are leaning on, right? Another thing that I noticed was that school districts are leaning completely on music teachers to create curriculum. Again, I love music teachers working on the curriculum for their own school district. I myself did that. That's one of the, how I got my start doing curriculum development, was doing my own school district's teams and working on that. One of my favorite things actually was to work on the curriculum for my school district. But I also had some training in how to develop curriculum. I also had training in long range planning. I had training in effective lesson development. We got whole school districts out here that don't even have a planning and pacing guide for their music teachers, and then some that do, and then the guidance is not sound or research backed because it's not created by people who have been trained to develop effective curriculum, just using their wise ideas. Wise ideas are wonderful, but our students need more than wise ideas. Our students need sound pedagogical theory and research-backed instructional practices, right? So we have to stop relying on untrained music teachers. We are trained in other ways, right? But we're not curriculum developers by and large. We need to stop relying on that and actually contract with people who know what they're doing so that the things that are being shared with the masses of your team and your school district are actually sound for your students. Because at the end of the day, it's the students who are suffering when unsound theory and practice is getting used. And then the third thing is that, and again, not a bad thing, because I also did it. It's how I got my start, right? I'm very fortunate. My school district allowed me so many wonderful leadership opportunities. Mentoring and coaching are not the same thing, right? A mentor has a different purpose than a coach. But a lot of school districts are kind of utilizing teachers as mentors, kind of coaching each other, which is not a bad thing. But at some point, a person needs to be led forward and walk side by side with somebody who's an expert and actually knows what in the world it is that they're doing. You can't have two people who don't really know what they're doing trying to lead each other. That doesn't make any sense, right? And so I wasn't completely shocked by this, because I know that the school district I taught in, it was unusual that there were people who were music coaches like myself. I know that that was an unusual thing. I was a coach for new music teachers, I should be specific. And it shouldn't be an unusual thing that music educators have music content specific instructional coaches. We have literacy coaches, we have math coaches, we have science coaches. Why don't we have people who are content specific and trained in how to coach, not just be a mentor, but trained in how to coach to be able to lead teachers forward? One of the things that is causing so much stress and frustration in the music field, is that music teachers work with hundreds of students at any one time, and we are wholly unsupported. That is crazy. We are one of the ones doing the most, right? Spending the most time outside of contract hours. We're going to, when I was in the classroom, I was going to festivals with my students. I was taking them to choir things. I also was supporting students before and after school. And then I had my whole day packed. You know, one year I taught at a school where 3 days in a row, I taught all day with a 30-minute lunch. And then the other 2 days I had some planning, but I taught 3 days in a row. And I think it was 9 classes that I taught, right? We're doing the most, but we're getting the least amount of support. That's leading to burnout. It's leading to frustration, and it's leading to teachers falling back on ineffective teaching methods because they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to get through day to day. That's not best for our music teachers, and it's not best for our students. We deserve better than that, and our school districts need to make sure that we have that same kind of coaching support, just like another teacher in another subject matter would have. Okay, and the last reflection. Oh, that's it. I just had 4. So basically, what I have learned through this year is that there's still so much work that has to be done. And in fact, my vision that I had a year ago of offering professional development, instructional coaching to music teachers around how do we ensure that you're prepared, whoever student is in front of you, that you can be responsive and relevant to those needs. I've learned that actually my vision needs to be bigger. It can't just be about the culturally responsive piece. It actually needs to be about the culturally responsive piece, and it needs to be about the need for high quality professional development. Because here's the thing, if we want equity for our students and our music programs, then our music teachers first need to have equitable access to the support that they need to be able to deliver that. We're asking so much of music teachers and not giving them the support to be able to do it. But here's the crazy thing. There's so much research about how effective music is in other areas of one person's life. Music is a wonderful, and the arts are so wonderful in that way that there's lots of different, test scores are improved when students are involved in music. Literacy scores are improved when students are involved in music. Wellness and mental health being are improved when students are involved in music. We are actually the most well-positioned to really support the well-rounded child, right? But we're receiving the least amount of support. It can't just be about the culturally responsive piece. It needs to be about the high quality professional development. And so as I'm up leveling my vision about what it is that I do and how I serve, it really needs to be both, right? So how can I provide both high quality professional development, which is both workshop and coaching, right? But how can I make sure that I'm providing high quality professional development that helps music educators be responsive and relevant to the ever-changing needs of the diversity in our schools, right? And so that leads me to the big announcement that I have for you today, because I know that we have obstacles, right? We have obstacles of time for PD, right? Like I said before, we have obstacles of access to resources, both human resources, like I'm only one person, right? So access to a person who can work with you, but also financial resources, and also the energy it takes to be able to put together high quality PD. And then we also have the issue of, we have music teachers who are just getting started in their career. We have mid-career folks. We have veterans who have been at it for a long time, and the needs of those teachers along their professional journey are different, right? We can't treat a first-year teacher and a 30-year teacher the same because they have different needs. And so where we're going, and what I'm announcing today, is the Responsive Music Educator Library and Professional Learning Community. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you will remember that last fall, the fall of 2022, I launched the Music PD Library. It was just replays of different workshops that I was doing already, and then you had asynchronous access. That's not good enough, right? Music teachers and our students deserve more than just replays of workshops, and I know I can do better than that. So it's really two announcements I realized as I was like, what am I going to say? It's really two things. So the Responsive Music Educator, which if you've been with me, you've heard me use that term in regards to my coaching program, my lab program. Some other things are coming down the pike that will be the Responsive Music Educator plus whatever the thing is. The Responsive Music Educator Library is an asynchronous on-demand library that is not just the replays of the workshops, but is actually designed for the online user experience. So what me and my team are working on is how can we make sure that the experience that people have with us in the workshops is similar to the experience that they would have when they're going through the workshops on their own. And so that issue of time, any busy music teacher can find some time to listen to or engage whenever they need to, right? So it's not dependent upon me physically going to a place or a certain kind of time that you have, reserved. It allows music teachers to be able to engage whenever they want to, right? To allow us to not be, thank you, Jocelyn, to not have to be chained to time, right? We also know that there's the issue of access to resources, like a person, right? Well, you can have access to me, asynchronously whenever that you need to, right? That's where the professional learning community comes in. And so I know that the library is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for the different things that we've been working on and putting them together. But I also know that just asynchronous support is not going to be enough. I was running focus groups these last couple of weeks, and that was one of the big pieces of feedback I had from the teachers and the administrators that I talked to, is that really the special sauce of what I do is me. And so to have no access to me at all is not really going to move people forward. And so in addition to the library, which I'll talk about specifics in just a second, the other addition is, if you want to be able to have live support from me, is that you upgrade your subscription to the Responsive Music Educator Professional Learning Community. This allows music teachers that we know, especially those of you that I know are alone at your school, alone in your district. If you're not even in a district, right? You're in a private school or independent charter school, allows you to have a network of like-minded music educators that are also working towards being responsive and relevant to the ever-changing needs of our students, people to be able to network and talk with. And you also have access to me. So whereas library folks will just have access to the workshops, unlimited PD right now, we have 5 in there, and it's going to expand every month is our goal. The people in the professional learning community both get access to the library, and every month to come on just like this with me for us to be able to build community with each other, share successes, ask questions, but also get a little bit of coaching from me, right? We know that to move people forward, you need somebody who knows what's going on to work side by side and step really by you so that you can understand what to do next. And so I'm so excited for the possibilities of what this is going to mean for the folks that I've been able to support, and then the folks I know are getting ready to. And so the official launch of the Responsive Music Educator Library and the Responsive Music Educator Professional Learning Community, that's a lot of words, is going to be August 1st. And if you know that you're ready to get the support that you need, ongoing music content specific, expert-led professional development whenever that you need to, I'm opening up the early bird list, and I'll put the link in the, let me see if I can put the link in the comments here. Actually, I'm opening up the early bird list right now. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I'm opening up the early bird list right now, and everybody on the early bird list is going to get access to a couple of things. First, you're going to get access to my early bird only pricing. So the library is going to be a yearly subscription for $375, but those of you on the early bird list are going to get it at a special price. Those of you who are ready to jump into the professional learning community, make sure I said the right thing. Oh, that's also a yearly subscription. It's going to be $1,200 for the year, but if you're on the list, you get it at a special early bird price. I'm also going to do a couple other things for folks that I know are ready to jump in with me right now, even before the full library is released in August. So in addition to those special pricing, those of you who are on the list are going to get access to my workshop series I'm doing next year. I'll talk more about what that workshop series is going to look like, but you'll get access to the first one, complimentary registration to that one. As long as you're on the list, as well as a couple of other things I have up my sleeve for people who have to be on the list to know what those additional things are going to be. So if you're on Instagram with me, I just put the link in the chat. And then those of you on Facebook, oops, wait a minute, that's too much. Those of you on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, let me put the link in the chat for you. And if you're not able to see, because I feel like I always miss like YouTube friends, if you, oh no, I think it's there. You also can go to ashleycuthbertson.com/RME library, responsive music educator, RME library, to be able to access that. And then in a moment, so I'm realizing as I'm saying this, I didn't put it on my link in bio. So I'll put it on the link in bio, and I also put it on the homepage of my website. That way you can get access to it very quickly. So it's here in the comments for you. And then it'll also be on my website. So once again, I'm so excited to announce the Responsive Music Educator Library, an asynchronous, ongoing professional learning opportunity for music educators who are ready to have the support they need to be able to meet the changing needs of our students and be responsive and relevant to them. And if you're ready for even more support, the professional learning community is also opening on August 1st. That's for folks who will get access to both the library as well as getting to work with me each and every month. So I'm so excited to welcome everybody into the newest offerings that I have. You're going to hear a lot from me about further details and other information. And those of you on the list will also get some behind the scenes previews as my team and I are finished building out all of the things. So I'm so excited for finally to be able to let the cat out of the bag. Let me know if you have any other questions and things. My DMs are open. And those of you who are on my email list already, you'll continue to hear more about it. So I'm really excited for this next evolution to, as I said, the problem that we solve is bigger, right? It's not just about making sure that there is a responsive and equitable approach. It's also making sure that our teachers have the support that they need. So I'm really excited for this bigger vision, where we're going next. And I'm so excited that all of you are with me on this ride. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go back to the rest of your Saturday. Those of you that were here with me live, thank you so much for tuning in. And those of you that are watching the replay, let me know #replay in the comments so that I know that you were here for the big announcement. All right. Bye, everyone.